Let me paint you a picture. There is a man, let's call him Daniel. Daniel wakes up at 5:30 every morning. He doesn't hit snooze. He works 2 jobs, sometimes 3. He's the first one in and the last one out. His boss loves him. His family respects him. And yet, every month, Daniel is broke. Not forgot to check his account broke. Genuinely, anxiously, can't sleep at night broke. And the most painful part? He can't figure out why. Because he's doing everything right. He's working hard. He's being responsible. He's showing up. So why is the money never there? If that story felt uncomfortably familiar, stay with me, because this isn't a video about budgeting tips or side hustles. This is about something deeper, something happening inside your mind that has been quietly working against you your whole life without you even knowing it. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Working hard and building wealth are not the same skill. They're not even closely related skills. One is about effort, the other is about psychology. And our schools, our families, our cultures, they've spent decades teaching us the effort part while completely ignoring the psychology part. So we grow up believing that if we just work hard enough, the money will follow. And then it doesn't. And we blame ourselves. And we work harder. And it still doesn't come. And at some point, exhaustion starts to look a lot like failure. But here's what's actually going on. There's a concept in psychology called a money script, a term coined by financial therapist Brad Klontz, and it refers to the unconscious beliefs you hold about money that were formed in childhood. Not the beliefs you chose, not the ones you'd rationally agree with, the ones that got wired into you before you were old enough to question them. Things like money is the root of all evil, or rich people are greedy, or we're just not the kind of family that has money. These aren't just passing thoughts, they become the operating system of your financial life. And here's the terrifying part. You don't even know they're running. Think about it this way. Imagine someone handed you a steering wheel, told you to drive, and secretly attached another wheel underneath the car that points in the opposite direction. You'd be turning and going nowhere and blaming your driving skills. That's what unconscious money scripts do. You think you're in control. You're not. Or at least not fully. And hard work doesn't fix this. In fact, in a painful irony, working hard can actually make it worse. Because when you're exhausted, when you've been grinding for 12 hours, your brain does something fascinating and frustrating. It rewards itself. Psychologists call this moral licensing. The basic idea is that when we feel we've been good, disciplined, hardworking, self-sacrificing, our brain gives itself permission to be a little bad, to spend a little, to treat ourselves, because we earned it, because we deserve it. And so the very effort that was supposed to build wealth becomes the justification of undoing it. You work hard all week, and on Friday you spend, because you worked hard all week. It's a loop, a beautiful, brutal, self-defeating loop. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting, and this is the part most people never hear. There's a growing body of research in behavioral economics suggesting that poverty, or even just the chronic stress of financial scarcity, physically changes how your brain processes decisions. Sendhil Mullainathan and Eldar Shafir explored this in their research on scarcity, and what they found is striking. When your mind is consumed by the pressure of not having enough, your cognitive bandwidth shrinks. You become brilliant at solving immediate problems, the leaky pipe, the overdue bill, the thing on fire right now, but terrible at thinking long-term. Not because you're not smart, because your brain is triaging. It's doing what brains do under threat. It's surviving. And survival mode and wealth-building mode are almost neurologically incompatible. This is why telling someone who's struggling financially to just invest or think long-term is a bit like telling someone who's drowning to just swim more efficiently. The advice isn't wrong, the timing is. But here's where we need to turn inward for a second, because there's another layer that's harder to talk about, and that's identity, specifically how we see ourselves in relation to money.
Psychologists who study self-concept have found over and over again that people tend to behave in ways that are consistent with their identity, their internal sense of who they are. And if somewhere deep down you believe that being poor is what you are rather than just something you're experiencing, your behavior will keep confirming that identity. Not out of weakness, out of psychological consistency. The brain hates contradiction. It will sabotage financial progress to stay aligned with its own self-image. You'll find yourself making choices that don't make sense on paper, but make perfect sense to a brain that's trying to stay true to its story about itself. This is the hardest part to sit with, because it means the problem isn't out there. It's not just the economy or the boss or the bad luck, though those things are real and they matter. Part of the problem is the story running inside you, the one you probably didn't write yourself, the one that was handed to you by the people and places that shaped you, and you've been living it out so faithfully, so unconsciously, that it feels like just life. There's a researcher named Paul Piff at UC Irvine who has studied wealth and psychology extensively, and one of his most cited findings is that financial circumstances deeply affect behavior, but so do beliefs about those circumstances. Two people can have identical incomes and wildly different outcomes, not because of discipline, not because of intelligence, but because of the psychological framework through which they're interpreting their situation. One person sees money as something that flows, that can be learned, that responds to intention. The other sees it as something that happens to other kinds of people. Same paycheck, different universe. So what do you do with all of this? And I want to be careful here because this isn't the part where I tell you to just believe in yourself and manifest a yacht. That would be insulting to everything we've just talked about. The psychology is real. The patterns are real. They take time and intention to change.
But the first thing, the absolute first thing, is awareness. Not judgment, awareness. Start listening to the things you say about money when you're not thinking about it. I could never afford that. People like us don't get to do things like that. Money comes and goes. These phrases feel casual. They're not. They're blueprints. They're instructions your brain is following, and you can start slowly, carefully, to rewrite them. The second thing is to separate effort from strategy. Hard work is a virtue. Nobody's taking that away from you. But hard work deployed without financial literacy, without the right structure, without understanding how money actually moves in the world, is like running very fast in the wrong direction. You'll be tired and nowhere. You deserve to be both hardworking and financially informed. You don't have to choose. And the third thing, and maybe the most important, is compassion for yourself, for Daniel waking up at 5:30, for every version of yourself that tried and spent and worked and ended up in the same place and couldn't understand why. You weren't failing, you were running a program you didn't install, and you can't debug software you don't know exists. This is the beginning of something. Not the solution, there's no single video that gives you that, but the beginning of looking at your financial life as a psychological story, not just a mathematical one. And stories, unlike math, can be rewritten. If something in this video hit close to home, I really want to hear about it. Drop it in the comments, even just a word, even just me, because sometimes just naming the thing out loud is the first step to changing it. And if you think someone in your life needs to hear this, share it with them, not as criticism, as a gift. I'll see you in the next one.